Over the decades, LEGO has released thousands of sets across more than 100 different themes. Some of these, like Star Wars or Ninjago, have become popular, long-lasting themes. However, others have been less lucky. LEGO Monster Fighters was a very revolutionary theme from 2012. Let's explore what made this theme so special. First released in May of 2012, these sets were based around some of the most classic and recognizable monsters from folklore, literature, and movies, such as Dracula, Frankenstein, werewolves, and more. These fictitious characters were already widely known by kids and adults alike, so the overall concept worked really well. The idea behind the sets was simple. Matthew Ashton, the LEGO Group Vice President of Design, said, quote, "We have dabbled with a few monster-based products in the past, but we really wanted to dedicate a whole line to this theme so kids could play out multiple adventures with a deeper story." The story of this line was focused on Dr. Rodney Rathbone, who learns that the evil Lord Vampire, the ruler of the monster realm, wants to turn day into eternal night and unleash an army of monsters into the world of mortal minifigures. To do this, though, Lord Vampire needs to gather the 6 magic moonstones to power a dark machine of his own creation to begin an eternal solar eclipse. Dr. Rathbone and his group of monster fighters set out on a dangerous mission to prevent the monsters from completing their evil plot and, of course, save the world while they're at it. Nothing fancy, but it's a perfect framing device to create a bunch of really outstanding LEGO sets. But before we go over the theme's impressive line, it's worth spending a minute to get to know the characters here. This theme had some really impressive and memorable minifigures, and every set included at least one unique figure. Leading the monster fighters, we've got Dr. Rodney Rathbone, an aristocrat from London, avid explorer, and the great-great-great-grandson of the first person ever to enter the monster realm. He's supported by Major Quinton Steele, a hunter on the team, and Frank Rock, a rebel biker who just wants to get his dog back after it was abducted by swamp monsters. Additionally, there's Ann Lee, a brave pilot and master archer, and lastly, we've got Jack McHammer, a burly lumberjack who had an arm cut off by a mad scientist. Speaking of the missing arm though, there's one thing that really stands out about the character designs from this line. 3 of the 5 main characters all have some form of prosthetic. Dr. Rathbone has a prosthetic leg, Quinton Steele has a telescopic eye, and Jack McHammer has a robotic arm. These were actually the first minifigures to feature any sort of prosthetics as assistive devices. These really gave off a sort of steampunk vibe for the characters. Anyway, this ragtag group of adventurers is the only thing that can stand up to Lord Vampire and prevent his evil plan from happening. Now, as great as these characters were, there's no denying that the real stars of this theme were the sets themselves. In total, we got 13 sets split across 4 promotional polybags and 9 standard construction sets, and each of them has something unique to talk about. The very first set from this line that anyone was able to get their hands on was actually a small, limited release set to promote this new line. Set 30201, simply named Ghost, was released as a promotional polybag about a month before the line's main launch. Overall, this set really doesn't have much going for it aside from the super cool glow-in-the-dark Ghost piece, which would turn into a highly sought-after piece for LEGO collectors and a pretty valuable one too. During 2012, LEGO would put out 3 more polybags. The zombie coffin car was only available at LEGO Discovery Centers in the US and is notable for containing one of these black coffin pieces. While this coffin appears in 2 other Monster Fighter sets, the piece itself had only ever shown up in one prior set, which was the Sphinx Secret Surprise from 1998. Again, it was really cool to see LEGO bringing back some classic pieces along this line. We also got the zombie car polybag. Once again, there's nothing really worth pointing out here except for the fact that there's a glow-in-the-dark spider piece. And lastly, and certainly most oddly, there was this Monster Fighters promotional pack. This set was never available for retail and was only ever given out twice. First, to attendees of Fan Expo in Canada, and secondly, at Toys R Us stores in the US to people who helped build a Monster Fighter store display. Now, onto the best part though, the actual boxed sets. Of the 9 main releases, 7 of them all hit store shelves in May of 2012. First up, we've got the Swamp Creature set, which came with 70 parts and 2 minifigures. Here we get one of only 2 releases of Frank Rock, complete with hovercraft and shiny sunglasses. But the really interesting part is the Swamp Creature itself. This guy was only ever released in one single set. I absolutely love the green fish mask. Just next to that on the shelf was this Chariot set, titled The Mummy. Of the smaller sets from this line, this one is definitely my favorite. For a set with only 90 pieces, there were so many unique bits of this set. First, we get Ann Lee with this incredible hair mold. It can hold an arrow or just about any LEGO rod piece and is one of very few hair pieces to allow that. Of course, we also get the mummy himself. While this wasn't the first mummy minifigure that LEGO had released, it was the first and still only one with a glow-in-the-dark pattern. While this was certainly cool, the real star of the show here had to have been the glow-in-the-dark skeleton horse. This is a single piece, and this glowing version was only ever released in this set. Next up, we've got set number 9463, the werewolf. This one came with Major Quentin Steele and an unnamed werewolf. One thing definitely worth pointing out though is that this is the only set to ever include the LEGO frog piece in metallic silver. The set also had a fun play feature where you could launch the werewolf from the top of the tree to ambush an unsuspecting passerby. Moving up in size a bit more, it's the 314-piece set called the Vampire Hearse. The hearse itself is pretty cool looking and did include some nice play features like the ability to launch Lord Vampire from his coffin through the roof, but this set actually doesn't have any unique minifigures. With 447 pieces, set 9465, the Zombies, features the most expensive minifigure from this theme. This set is a small mausoleum with 2 tombs as well as 4 minifigures. We've got Jack McHammer, another zombie driver, and the guests of honor, a zombie bride and groom. These 2 were unique to this set and are easily the most sought after pieces and minifigures from this entire line. Today, the groom sells for about $15 and the bride will set you back a whopping $60 US. This set also had a neat mechanism where turning a dial would raise the zombies from their tombs and launch a cauldron of bones at anyone foolish to get too close. Set 9466, the crazy scientist and his monster, is LEGO's supposedly completely original mad scientist and his giant green monster. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is just Frankenstein. But it's a really nice little set with 450 pieces and a total of 4 minifigures, including the crazy scientist and his monster. 2 other parts worth pointing out are this rare rifle with clip and this glow-in-the-dark minifigure head, which surprisingly was only ever available for purchase in this set. It has only made one other appearance, the 2013 LEGO Employee Christmas gift, a LEGO Christmas Tale, which is an incredibly rare and very expensive collectible at this point. Now, getting into the 3 largest sets. We've got set 9467, the Ghost Train. The highlight of this set is definitely the inclusion of 3 of these new Ghost minifigures that are glow-in-the-dark. The Ghost Train itself is a very impressive model, about 19 inches long, and I think this old-timey airplane is one of LEGO's better designed planes of this size. Now, the largest set in the initial release was this incredible Vampire Castle set with 949 pieces and 7 minifigures. Most notably, this set included Lord Vampire's bride and 2 Bat Monsters. These Bat Monsters were never released in any other set. This model is actually super tall, measuring 18 inches in height. The castle also had several interesting play mechanisms like secret spikes at the gate, a glow-in-the-dark spider projectile, a dangerous pit with spikes, multiple trap doors, and a boulder that could be launched to break out prisoners from the jail cell. However, this wasn't even the largest set, because the largest set was actually set number 10228, the very spooky Haunted House modular set, which went on sale in September of 2012 with over 2,000 pieces and 6 minifigures, which included a unique monster butler and zombie chef. Unlike the other entries in the series that focus primarily on play, this was meant as to be more of a display piece just in time for Halloween. From the outside, it's a typical haunted house with boarded up windows, dead brown bushes, and a large iron gate. This house is so incredibly detailed though. From the zombie chef's kitchen to the butler busting a move on the dance floor, this set was certainly very creative and a lot of fun. Now, although we never got any more Monster Fighter sets, the theme received something even better. In 2014, the Haunted House was opened at Legoland Billund. This exhibit is crawling with vampires, ghosts, other monsters, and even a mirror maze. A few years later, in 2019, the Haunted House Monster Party was opened at Legoland Windsor. This attraction featured a huge haunted building based on the haunted house and included oversized recreations of the spiderwebs, wooden tiles, balloons, and more. All around the house are fantastically frightful large-scale brick-built animals and monsters, including a giant gargoyle and spider. Do you have any of these monster fighter sets, and should LEGO bring back this theme? Now it's time to dive into when LEGO first started out in the virtual world. LEGO Universe was LEGO's attempt at launching a multiplayer online RPG game. The gameplay itself was fairly simple, with players assuming the role of a minifigure and traveling to different worlds based on various LEGO themes. As a promotional tie-in for the game's launch, LEGO released 2 small sets, an exclusive Orange Spaceman minifigure for those who pre-ordered the game, and the Nexus Force rocket polybag set that was given away with qualifying purchases at LEGO stores. The rocket only has 55 pieces, but that's pretty standard for a promotional polybag. Each of these rocket sets also included a code to download a unique rocket in-game to help travel around the various LEGO worlds. The sets themselves are incredibly basic, but that's because the main part of this theme was the online video game. Although the game and theme were ultimately not a huge success, LEGO would take the basic premise and use it as inspiration when developing LEGO Dimensions and the LEGO Hidden Side app. Honestly, I think that LEGO Universe was just ahead of its time. Based on the massive success of the LEGO video game franchise, an online game where the sets that you collect in real life also provide in-game rewards seems like a winning concept, which is why LEGO tried again with LEGO Dimensions from 2015 to 2017 with more success. Up next is another theme that lasted for under a year. It's the Spybotics line back from 2002. Only 4 sets were ever released for this theme, all of which were designed to kind of work together. Spybotics was LEGO's attempt at making the Mindstorms line of bricks more appealing to general consumers, and so each of these sets was powered by a Mindstorms control module with 2 motors, an IR transceiver, a power button, and various sensors. These little machines could be programmed in so many different ways depending on their configuration. Each one came with a unique set of tools to help them solve missions that they were designed to go on. This box art of these sets really gives off a Mission Impossible feel if you've ever watched any of those movies in which the first and second had already been released at the time of this theme. Each of the 4 colored Spybotics sets also included a software disk and a remote to control the Spybot. The software allowed LEGO builders to create missions for the Spybots to carry out. Immediately out of the box, you could choose from 10 preset missions, and even download more on the now defunct Spybotics website. Half of the missions were meant for a single Spybot, while the other half were designed for 2 or more sets to complete together. Each set included a brief, setup instructions, and some settings to adjust the mission difficulty. The missions were set up by placing certain objects in the room, which the Spybots will react to according to the program included in the mission. If that wasn't enough for you, you could also create your own missions based on the 9 different templates. Yeah, I think it's almost certain that LEGO took inspiration from the highly successful Mission Impossible franchise when developing this theme. Overall, these were some really cool sets that had a lot of play and educational value. However, they were very expensive, with a 250-piece set selling for around $60 at launch. Mindstorms bricks have never been cheap, but at least at this time, their high price proved to be too much of a hurdle, and the theme was quickly abandoned. LEGO wouldn't abandon the idea that consumers were interested in mechanical bricks. Less than a year after Spybotics, in 2003, LEGO launched the Inventor series. This theme was meant to be sort of a combination of the Creator and Technic themes, and used brand new battery-powered electronics to make programming simpler, as well as new mechanical parts. These simplified elements helped drive the cost down significantly, with some of these sets going on sale for as little as $15. Now, each of these 4 sets in the Inventor line was designed to showcase a unique style of movement, but unlike the Spybotics machines, they could really only do one specific task. I mean, this one apparently was designed to, stir chocolate milk? Yeah, I'm not really sure about this one, to be honest. But the others were a bit more fun in their design. The Record and Play set was able to recreate anything you recorded it doing, such as walking, driving, or even drawing. Others simply included a motor to allow a model bird to fly up a wire or a monkey to climb a structure. But with only 4 sets ever released, it seems that LEGO quickly ran out of ideas, or demand just wasn't there. Now, interestingly enough, these 4 sets were actually on sale for nearly 2 years, but no new sets came out during that time. They just kind of sat there on shelves. And even still, these can be difficult sets to track down if you want to buy one, even if you want it in used condition. It seems like these were just largely forgotten about. Moving away from LEGO's many attempts to get mechanical LEGO bricks to catch on, it's 2005's Dino Attack we're looking at next, which sometimes this theme is also referred to as Dino 2010, which is just really confusing considering that it wasn't released at that time. There are 6 sets released in this theme, all of which seem to involve vehicles being attacked by dinosaurs, as if the title didn't give that away. This theme was a bold departure for LEGO in a lot of ways. Dino Attack featured rugged military-looking minifigures with bulletproof vests and knives printed on the torsos, something that LEGO has made a point of trying to avoid. Beyond the minifigures, each set featured a clearly military-inspired vehicle that the heroes need to use to save the LEGO cities from these prehistoric threats. This helicopter, the T-1 Typhoon, is clearly a neat set, but it definitely wouldn't fly with LEGO today. This might be why it's so valuable on the secondhand market, with even a used set going for $175. But the really interesting thing about this theme are the dinosaurs. Each set came with at least one unique beast, and this was one of the last lines ever released with dinos before we started getting the Jurassic Park sets. While some of these models may look a little goofy compared to more recent versions, they're incredibly sought after. An absolute classic of a TV show, Avatar: The Last Airbender, has inspired video games, countless toys, spin-offs, and even an upcoming Netflix series. With this kind of success, it was only a matter of time before LEGO tried to capitalize on the property, and in 2006, LEGO officially launched 2 sets based on the show. The Air Temple and the First Nation ship were both released as part of LEGO's larger Nickelodeon line, but featured unique branding that focused more on the show than the network. These sets make up the smallest retail release in LEGO history. Unlike the LEGO Universe sets that were purely promotional sets, these 2 sets were available on store shelves across the US and Canada to test the market. While there was no word on exactly why this theme was cancelled, it may be because the show itself was scheduled to end in 2007, and LEGO didn't think that the sets from a show that was no longer running would sell very well. As a result, both of these sets are limited to Season 1 of the show and don't even include many fan-favorite characters or locations. It really seems that LEGO may have misjudged the demand for Avatar sets at this time. The 2 original sets are now incredibly valuable and prized collector's items. The Fire Nation ship, for example, sells for nearly $700 if you want one new. Up next is Ben 10 Alien Force. Based on the popular Cartoon Network series, this theme featured only 6 sets that were available for about a year in 2010. This theme was another line of LEGO's constructible figures inspired by the success of Bionicle. At the time, it was assumed that Ben 10 was meant to be a long line of figures. After all, Ben has more than 10 different forms that he takes throughout the show, plus all the villains make for a lot of possible sets. Unfortunately, like many of LEGO's other non-Bionicle construction figures, these never really took off. Since they didn't use many standard LEGO pieces, there wasn't a lot of room for reusing the parts. And while these sets were pretty inexpensive at only $15 a pop, they only had about 20 pieces, making them seem a lot more expensive on a brick-by-brick basis than even the Spybotics sets that we looked at earlier in this video. Of course, it's still possible to find these floating around online for close to their original retail price because they weren't super popular, and while they may not have much resale value, there are certainly some very interesting parts to add to any collection. Moving on, LEGO Legends of Chima was initially meant to slowly replace Ninjago, but Chima itself was phased out after only a few years, while Ninjago is still around to this day, 11 years and counting. So what happened? First released back in 2013, Legends of Chima was designed as a play-oriented line to launch on multiple platforms, including many LEGO sets, video games, and even an animated TV series. The story of this theme was centered on 2 childhood friends, Laval from the Lion tribe and Krager from the Crocodile tribe. These 2 became bitter enemies who led their own side of different tribes from the land of Chima to fight over control of the energy source known as Chi. Although this theme wouldn't last for long, it would give us some of the most thematic sets that LEGO has ever made, including one of the largest LEGO sets ever released. But it all started with the first wave of sets back in 2013. In the first year of its release, LEGO went all in on Chima, launching a total of 7 sets to start things off. These sets immediately set the tone and pace for the entire theme, and each of the main characters was given their own unique vehicle set. Looking at these initial sets, it's so obvious what LEGO was going for here. Each main character represents a different animal tribe, and their vehicles represent this. LEGO designer Samuel Johnson, who worked on Chima, said, quote, "We make features and try to fit them in with animals and what the animals do. If a vehicle doesn't have the traits of the animal it's meant to resemble, it doesn't make a lot of sense." And this attitude really cemented the design philosophy of LEGO Chima throughout its run. These initial sets were generally well received, and nearly all featured multiple minifigures. These were some of the most ambitious minifigure designs that LEGO had ever come out with. Each of the 8 tribes had a unique new mold for their heads, and featured some very cool accessories. The biggest set from this initial wave was Krager's command ship, a massive crocodile-shaped ship that really floats on water. Including 6 minifigures like this set-exclusive Crueler minifigure, it featured multiple detachable vehicle sub-builds, several flick-fire missiles, and an articulated tail. Over the rest of this year, LEGO released several more sets, including the now legendary Lion Chi Temple. This absolute beast of a set came with around 1,200 pieces, included 7 amazing minifigures, and would remain as one of the largest sets produced for this line. This set actually sold out across the country for most of the 2013 holiday shopping season, and even today, finding a complete set can be tricky, or at least expensive. Now, 2013 would also see the launch of 2 more lines of Chima sets, Speed Ores and Ultra Builds. Legends of Chima Speed Ore sets were designed to be a more interactive or competitive angle to the series. Based on the Ninjago Spinner's success, these brick-built vehicles were powered by plastic ripcords that launched them forward. Speed Ores were more than just LEGO sets though. These little guys sold for $15 a pop, and each set came with an actual vehicle, a minifigure with accessories, and a small obstacle or game to play with the Speed Ore. Also included in each package was a handful of cards that were needed to play the game. Basically, the Speed Ores game required at least 2 sets to compete against each other in a series of challenges based on the obstacles included in those sets. For example, the Ring of Fire set requires players to launch their Speed Ores through the flaming ring, and the Jungle Gates makes you steer through a series of obstacles. Any combination of Speed Ore sets could be used to make some very unique and creative challenges. The winner of each of these challenges got to draw a card from their deck and choose which of the 4 stats to use in combat that round. These games were generally a lot faster than the Ninjago Spinners, but still had the great combination of LEGO and card play. There was actually another Chima Speed Ores game, but it was a mobile, free-to-play kart racer that featured all the same sets and characters, as well as some iconic locations from the cartoon series. This game was pretty basic, but it's fondly remembered by fans of the theme. The concept of LEGO Ultra Builds first launched in 2012 with a wave of DC and Marvel characters. Apparently, these were successful enough at the time for LEGO to make a Chima flagship line of these Technic-based sets. The summer of 2013 saw the release of the first 6 Ultra Builds for Chima, and showcased several of the main tribes and characters. The really neat thing about these sets is that they were designed to be combined with each other. LEGO actually released several instructions for combiner models. These would take 2 sets, such as Chi Laval and Chi Eris, and combine them into a single gigantic model. Much like Speed Ores, these were sold for around $15 each at launch, and each came with about 50 to 60 pieces. Much like every other line of LEGO constructible figures, some fans really liked these and others really did not, but there were plenty of other sets to go around if you weren't a fan of these. Now, of course, I can't talk about Chima without mentioning the cartoon series. Premiering on Cartoon Network in January of 2013, The Legends of Chima took place in a fictional world of the same name. The plot of the first season revolves around the conflict between childhood friends Laval and Krager. Everything is going fine until Krager's sister tricks him into betraying his friend and starting a war against the Lion tribe, trying to take over the entire kingdom. The first season actually ran for 20 episodes and wrapped up in December, with the 2 former pals ultimately reuniting and peace being restored to the land. Now that brings us to 2014, the second year of LEGO Chima. 2014 saw the continued release of sets, Speed Ores, and Ultra Builds that massively expanded the theme's offerings. The sets from this second year were similar to the first in that they almost entirely featured vehicles based around each tribe's animal. Overall, these sets were a bit larger than the first wave and featured more unique parts. This wave also included my personal favorite from the Chima series, Mala's Ice Mammoth Stomper. The colors, the construction, everything was just great about this set, and it was a lot of fun. Most of these sets featured either vehicles that were detachable from the main build, like this helicopter from the Mammoth Stomper, or the vehicle itself changes form, like Laval's Fire Lion. 2014 also had another very large Chima set in it, the Flying Phoenix Fire Temple with 1,301 pieces. While this set may have only been slightly larger than the Lion Chi Temple from the prior year, it was far more intricate. This set included the Phoenix Flyer, a set of defensive walls, and an attacking tank sub-build. Each part of this set has something to hide, and it's amazing. For starters, the Phoenix Flyer does more than just zoom through the skies launching fireballs. With a press of a button, the entire set transforms into a heavily defended fire temple. Now, one of my favorite things about this set, though, is probably the ice tank build. Like many of the other 2014 sets, it has its own small detachable vehicle, and that detachable vehicle also transforms. The attention to detail on every level of this design is simply fantastic, and you can say that a lot about most of Chima's sets. Over 2014, LEGO also released several new Speedor sets, although most of them were largely the same as what we saw in the prior year. They did expand upon the previous wave by offering more complicated challenges and a few very unique Speedor's attachments, such as this one with spider legs. The summer of 2014 also saw a new line of Ultra builds, 7 new sets showcasing a few new characters as well as combiner model instructions, but these would be the last Ultra builds ever released for Chima. However, also at this time, 2014 would see Seasons 2 and 3 of Legends of Chima released on Cartoon Network to coincide with the release of the second and third waves. Season 2 followed the now reunited heroes of Chima as they searched for the 8 Legend Beasts. Speaking of which, in the world of Chima, Legend Beasts were ancient creatures of Chima who chose not to drink chi, leaving them pure. LEGO released a series of 5 Legend Beast sets to tie in with the second season that was released on Cartoon Network. Each of these sets came with about 100 pieces and sold for just $10, which was a pretty good deal. Although we never got all 8 Legend Beasts, these sets do make for a nice collection. In January 2015, LEGO released the last batch of Chima sets. These largely followed in the footsteps of Wave 2 and showcased how far LEGO set design had come over the past few years. King Crominus' Rescue was a slightly scaled down but just as impressive counter to the Flying Phoenix Fire Temple, and Bladvik's Rumble Bear is perhaps one of the most menacing LEGO sets I've ever seen. This final wave also included a series of battle packs based on 4 of the various tribes. These included 4 minifigures, several accessories, and a small build each. They were very popular among fans. Although this marked the end for new Chima sets that LEGO would release, they weren't completely done with it yet. You see, in the summer of 2015, LEGO announced a contest to build a Chima fortress and submit your design online. The winners would be awarded the largest LEGO set ever released in a single box at the time, in which it still is one of the largest LEGO sets. This box contains 25 of the most impressive Chima sets that were produced. Officially, only 2 of these boxed sets were ever produced, so it's extremely rare, though it's speculated that the LEGO Vault also has one in hiding. Of the 2 sets that were sent out, one winner photographed themselves opening and building the sets, while the other has kept it sealed. So obviously we know that Chima was discontinued after 2015. So what happened? Why did LEGO pull the plug after 3 years and over 100 sets? Was Chima not successful? Well, although LEGO has never given us a definitive answer, there are a few strong theories. You see, many people loved the storyline, but Chima had a hard time reinventing itself year over year. There's only so many animal vehicles that you can build. Set designs got repetitive and did not sell as well as LEGO hoped, and sales numbers in 2014 and 2015 were significantly less than LEGO had hoped for. Why? Well, perhaps it was because that Ninjago was never cancelled. The 2 themes had sets on shelves at the same time and directly competed with each other for customers. In fact, many Ninjago fans strongly disliked Chima, thinking that LEGO was trying to use it to cannibalize Ninjago, in which, well, at first they kinda were, but that didn't quite go as planned. When Chima released, Ninjago fans were already invested in their own theme and the storyline of the ninja, so they weren't necessarily interested in converting over. The demand for Ninjago sets overpowered Chima, resulting in the survival of the Ninjago line while Chima was discontinued. In March 2014, LEGO launched one of the company's most unique lines. Mixels were small sets ranging from 40 to 80 pieces within a colorful polybag and sold for a very affordable price of $5 each. Unlike a lot of other polybags though, these weren't part of a larger theme. Instead, these creative and funny characters were the theme. You see, LEGO Mixels was based on a loose storyline that was accompanied by an animated series on Cartoon Network. These short animations were lighthearted and released alongside the various waves of Mixel characters. From silly stories to conflicts with the mischievous Nixels, these animations were certainly a lot of fun. Unlike other LEGO series though, the Mixels cartoon was traditionally animated as opposed to CGI and actually featured a surprisingly stacked cast of voice actors, including Billy West, who has voiced Bugs Bunny, and Tom Kenny, the voice of SpongeBob. The idea was simple. Mixels were small, curious creatures that could combine with other Mixels a limitless number of ways by mixing, maxing, or merping using a qubit. A mix is when two Mixels combine in a useful way, a max is when all three members from a single tribe mix together, and a merp is when two or more Mixels combine in a random, seemingly useless way. Tying into the LEGO sets that were released, fans could combine their favorite Mixel characters in creative ways. Now, the idea of tribes was vital for the Mixels storyline. Each tribe was centered on a single concept, element, or skill, and generally contained 3 Mixels. A standard wave of sets for this theme included 3 distinctive tribes for a total of 9 Mixel characters released in each LEGO wave. On top of receiving a fun, creative character though, one of the things that made Mixels so unique was that each wave introduced several exclusive pieces or unique color elements that still can't be found in any other LEGO set. Each bag came with unique and colorful pieces such as various eyes, wings, and teeth, along with tribe-specific pieces such as flames, green goop, and even a one-of-a-kind Mixie's drum piece for the music tribe. I still find myself using so many of these pieces in my own builds, and I'll always have a real soft spot for these wacky little creatures. The first wave in early 2014 kept it pretty simple with the themes, but as you'll see, they would get a lot more advanced in subsequent waves. We got the Infernite tribe based on fire, the Cragster tribe with their stony look who lived underground, and the electricity-themed Electroids tribe. Most significantly though, one set from each of the tribes would always come with something else in the package, a few black pieces and a small evil-looking face printed on a round tile. These are Nixels, and they're the servants of the evil King Nixel who opposes the colorful and happy Mixel tribes. Every wave released 3 Nixels, with 1 coming in each tribe, and no 2 were totally identical. For Series 1, the Nixel was included in Volk from the Infernites, Crater from the Cragsters, and Teslo from the Electroids. I just love the expressions that these Nixels had. However, my favorite piece from these initial sets has got to be Volectro's hair. In fact, the very first video that I actually ever posted on YouTube was a very scuffed review of Volectro in the corner of my room nearly 9 years ago when I was a very young kid. My content has definitely evolved a lot since then, so consider subscribing to my channel to help me reach 1 million subscribers and we'll all celebrate together. Wave 2 of LEGO Mixels was released just a few months later on June 1st of the same year and included 3 more tribes. We got the Icy Frosticons, the Hungry Fang Gang, and the Rubber Flexor tribe. The light blue in the Frosticons is a great accent color, but the Flexors are easily my favorite. I love the bright orange of this tribe, and Craw just looks like a creature that I'd want as a pet. Or maybe he's secretly the cousin of Mr. Krabs from SpongeBob. On September 1st of the same year as the first series, we got Mixels Series 3, which would mark the final wave of 2014. This time, though, LEGO seemed ready to take things up a notch, and gave us the most unique-looking creatures so far, as well as one brand new piece. Wave 3 had the Spikles, whose name is self-explanatory, the Slimy Glorp Corp, which is one of my favorite tribe names, and the Magical Whiztastics. The Spikles may have the blandest colors of this wave, but I really like these designs. Scorpy is adorable, and Hoogie's hands and arms are just so posable. The Whiztastics are nice, and getting a bunch of purple parts in one very cheap set is a bit rare, so these were definitely worth picking up. Many collectors just bought Mixels for the wide assortment of colorful bricks for their collections. But the real stars here were definitely the Glorp Corp, and we actually saw the inclusion of a new piece here. The Snake Blade with Technicolor, as it's officially called, was used in 2 characters in this wave, Glomp and Glurt, and was only ever released elsewhere in a single Ninjago Spinner booster pack. The third member of the tribe, Torts, also came with a rare piece. This translucent green starfish only ever appeared in one other set, a promotional Christmas tree polybag from the year prior. As we go through these sets, keep track of your favorites and comment your favorite Mixel character down below after the video. I'm curious to see which character is everyone's favorite. Anyway, 2015 would see the release of 9 more Mixel tribes across another 3 new series. The space-themed Orbitons, the fiery Infernite Cousins, and the spooky Glowkeys were all released in Series 4 at the beginning of the year. These series continued to push how far LEGO would take these designs and gave us even more unique parts and unforgettable character builds. The fan-favorite Glowkeys each featured glow-in-the-dark elements like this set-exclusive minifigure head with a giant eyeball that came with Boogly. This tribe's leader, Glowbert, also is the only set ever to feature dragon wings in this dark earth blue color. Now, in June of this same year, LEGO put out the Clinkers, the Frosticon Cousins, and the Lixers tribes for Series 5. The Clinkers were themed around gears and machinery and did include some neat gold elements, but the Frosticon Cousins are once again just a bit of a continuation of earlier releases, but at least it gave us some more pieces. These light blue robot arms only ever came in the Krog set, and these 1x6 reversed bow bricks were produced specifically for Snoof. Accompanying the Clinker and Frosticons was the slightly weird Lixer tribe, a tribe based all around giant tongues and licking things, which is quite odd, wacky, and a very unexpected topic. Bringing 2015 to a close was the release of Series 6 of Mixels. We got the construction-themed Weldos tribe, the Glorpcorp Cousins, and the food-obsessed Munchos tribe. The Weldos definitely captured the look of a construction site with their black and yellow theme and power tool-like appearance. As for new pieces, Forks came with a new gray banana piece that would show up again in 2 other sets down the road. Also, Cram came with one of these surprisingly rare yellow hard hats. The Glorpcorp Cousins were yet another rehash of a fan-favorite older theme, but they're very notable because of Gurgle. Why? Well, on top of having a name that sounds like you're using mouthwash, this was the only Mixel set ever to include this very special tile. Yup, it's a cubit from the cartoon. I personally am very surprised that LEGO didn't include this piece in any other Mixel set, considering how much of a vital role it played in the cartoons. However, one of the fan favorites, the Munchos, really dominated this series with their fun food pieces. I mean, Vaka Waka even had 2 mouths, and Snacks had large bulging cheeks, as if he was always chewing food. If you're lucky, you may find collectors selling some of these sets. You can check using YouTube's shopping feature in the description of this video. Now, on to 2016. Although it would be the last full year of Mixels, LEGO stepped up their game yet again. No more repetitive cousin tribes. Instead, the final year would populate Mixopolis, which is the city of Mixels, with role-based tribes such as police, fire departments, and TV stations. Let's jump into Series 7. The MCPD tribe, which stood for the Mixopolis City Police Department, had a special character named Tickets. You see, Tickets also came with this very interesting round exclusive tile. If you'd never seen the cartoon on Cartoon Network, this was probably quite confusing and non-significant. But in fact, it's a cookie-roni, one of the famous snacks that Mixels enjoy eating. As possibly a fun poke at the stereotype of police eating donuts, these Mixel police characters eat cookie-ronis. Also in Series 7, the Medievals were all based on castles, and I like the names of these characters a lot. This tribe included Camelot, Mixodel, and Paladum. Rounding out this series though, we got the Mixies, a band made up of Jamsy, Tapsy, and Trumpsy. Tapsy included a unique drum head I mentioned earlier, while Trumpsy included the only ever yellow dome piece that we've ever seen. Now, Series 8 came out in June of 2016 and gave us the Mixopolis City Fire Department, along with the Pirate and Medics tribes. Like the MCPD, the MCFD didn't feature much in the way of unique pieces, and its red color was a bit bland compared to earlier series, but this tribe did give the world of Mixels its much needed safety and protection from the fiery Infernite members. I can bet that they would frequently set the town on fire. Good thing a quad could simply fly overhead and douse the flames with water. Now, the pirate tribe was possibly one of the most thematic tribes. These 3 definitely stand out in the collection with their peg legs, eye patches, and pirate hats. Sharks is one of only 2 sets ever to feature one of these golden hooks, and Loot still is the only set ever to include these golden claws, and he has 8 of them. Also included in Series 8 was the Medics tribe, spelled with an X at the end like my channel name. These guys were a group of, well, medics. I do like the mint green that is included on Tooth, Scrubs, and Sergio, all 3 of the Medics tribe members. Now, the final series of Mixels came out in October of 2016 and included the final 3 tribes that we would ever get. The Trashos tribe included a street sweeper, trash compactor, and dumpster. Of these 3 sets, this green brush for sweeps is still an incredibly rare piece to this day. The Ninja tribe revisited the orange color scheme from the Series 2 Flexors, but put it on with a few martial arts inspired builds. I've got to give a special nod to Misto, who is described as the wise and masterful leader of the ninjas. He totally reminds me of Master Wu from Ninjago, definitely a wise sensei in the land of Mixels. But of course, every city needs a news source, so LEGO gave us the Newser tribe, which included these unique printed tiles showing that they're a TV crew. Incredibly, all 9 series of Mixels were extremely successful and popular among fans. LEGO typically designs most themes to last 3 years, so Mixels fully survived its planned lifetime. Honestly, as much as I miss buying these sets, I'm glad that LEGO didn't oversaturate the collection. As it stands, Mixels is one of the LEGO themes that will truly never be forgotten. Who is your favorite Mixel? Comment below. LEGO Atlantis was a theme that had so much potential, but sadly was discontinued far too soon. Atlantis was LEGO's 3rd attempt at an underwater exploration theme, following Aquazone from the 90s and the unsuccessful Aqua Raiders from 2007. Released in 2010, this theme was centered on a group of explorers searching the seafloor for the keys to the lost city of Atlantis. To do this, they had the very best underwater exploration technology that plastic can buy. The few sets that we got for this theme showcased just how much variety LEGO designers can achieve. This theme had it all: submarines, undersea bases, transforming mech suits, and of course, deep sea monsters. It even got an animated mini-movie on Cartoon Network. This was actually one of the first voiced LEGO animations. To the surprise of many, the story of LEGO Atlantis was an ambitious one, with a very playful and creative storyline that crossed over with multiple other themes, such as Power Miners, Alien Conquest, and Pharaoh's Quest. Now, designing a new LEGO theme takes time. Seriously, I made a whole video about it. And one of the most important steps in early development is focus groups. Designer William Thorogood stated that they realized that, quote, there were certain key icons that the product simply had to include: propellers, cockpits, big lights, helmets, harpoons, torpedo-like weapons, tridents, giant squids, and evil sharks. Even a quick glance at the Atlantis line shows that LEGO really leaned into this feedback from these focus groups. The design of this theme brings back several elements from LEGO's previous underwater lines, but it also gives them a more futuristic appearance. About halfway through development, the designers realized that the sets that they were creating bore too much resemblance to the Aqua Raiders line and realized that they had to make a major rethink of their plans. But instead of scrapping everything, they decided that it would be far easier just to swap the color palette. The original designs were all in black and yellow, so they just changed everything to red and trans green. You can see here some of the early prototypes, and it becomes clear that yellow just wasn't working for them. Sometimes the easiest solutions really are the best ones, as is this color scheme, because it became one of the defining characteristics of these sets. Probably my favorite part of this line though are the minifigures. I mean, oh man, these sets had some absolutely incredible and unique figures that I really wish we got more of. The villains in this theme were all creative hybrids with specialty molded heads. Barracudas, hammerheads, manta rays, and more were all featured in these sets. The coolest one though has got to be the Squid Warrior. With a unique headpiece that fits over a normal minifigure torso, this bad guy also had a unique piece that replaced the legs with tentacles. Now, let's be honest, even a perfect storyline can't make up for lackluster sets. But Atlantis came through on that end with some really impressive and fun builds. In total, 24 sets were released in 3 different waves under the Atlantis theme. Generally, each of these was either a vehicle or a creature, and every set featured at least one minifigure. Wave 1 launched in January of 2010 with 9 sets. These first few offerings introduced us to the main heroes of the line, and I just have to point out that these guys had some of the best names that LEGO has come up with. We've got Axel Storm, Lance Spears, Captain Ace Speedman, and my favorite, Bobby Booey. These divers all had new molded diving gear along with a neon trans-green visor piece. This first wave's offerings were generally on the smaller side, with half of them having fewer than 100 pieces. The Manta Warrior set only had 13, and that counts the legs, torso, and head of the minifigure itself. But good things can come in small packages, and some of these really did a lot with very little. The Wreck Raider, for example, only had 64 pieces, but still managed to capture the iconic Atlantis look. The biggest set from Wave 1 was the Neptune Carrier with 475 pieces. With a total of 4 minifigures, a large submarine, an underwater scooter, a small underwater rover, and a brick-built Stingray, this set really did have it all. I also want to give a quick mention to the gateway of the squid set, specifically this white squid here. I'm not sure what I find so amusing about this build, but man, LEGO has really come a long way with their sub-builds since then. The second wave of Atlantis that was released in May of 2010 bumped up the size and complexity of these sets. The smallest of the wave, the Deep Sea Striker, was bigger than all but 2 of the first wave's products. This set had some cool designs, and the Scorpion is very menacing. This wave also gave us the largest Atlantis set to be released, the 1,000-piece Portal of Atlantis. This behemoth measured over a foot tall and 18 inches wide. It came with 7 minifigures and was the only set to contain all 5 of the Atlantis keys. Like much of the rest of the line, this one was focused on playability, but still looks like a great display piece. One cool thing to point out here is this diver skeleton. The helmet it has is the same one from the Aqua Raiders theme, implying that both themes are set in the same universe. This wave also provided my personal favorite Atlantis set, the Undersea Explorer. This is such a unique set and does something that I wish LEGO would do more of. This set actually transforms from a deep sea rover to a combat-ready mech in just a few quick movements. While it might not be the most impressive transformation that LEGO has ever done, it does show that this theme wasn't afraid to take chances. In fact, it wasn't the only set from this wave that had more than one form. The Atlantis Exploration HQ also transformed from a mobile submarine to a stationary base, though this transformation was a bit more complicated and required a separate structure to hold everything in place. Now, the third and final wave of LEGO Atlantis sets came out in January of 2011 and contained only 5 sets. Overall, these were smaller and less intricate than those in Wave 2, but the Sea Strider at least made another attempt at a transforming vehicle. The Angler Attack might be my favorite set from this wave. There's just something about those big, ugly eyes that I find endearing. It also came with a new Barracuda Warrior, which is one of the largest and most detailed head molds that I've ever seen for a minifigure. But the real star of Wave 3 has got to be the wave's largest set, the City of Atlantis. Yup, it took 3 waves to get here, but we did, and finally, we get our own version of the famous location. This 686-piece set came with 6 minifigures, a small submarine, and a few villains to round out the mix. This is also the only set to include the Golden King, who had been referenced in so many other sets. If you're really lucky, you can still find this set being sold by collectors. Check out this convenient YouTube shopping pop-up to explore which stores still sell these awesome sets and find out how you can buy them. These Atlantis sets are certainly worthy additions to any LEGO fan's collection. Ultimately though, no matter how unique or cool a line is, if it doesn't sell, it gets the axe. Atlantis got 3 major releases over more than a year, but sadly it wasn't renewed for anything past that. Why? Well, maybe it wasn't selling well enough, or maybe they ran out of interesting ideas for the line, or perhaps LEGO just wanted to focus their resources on a newer project. Whatever the case though, it marked the end of an era. We're traveling back in time to ancient Egypt with LEGO's iconic Pharaoh's Quest theme. We'll explore its rich storyline, sets, and even discuss how LEGO sent its designers to Egypt while developing this theme for inspiration and to gather creative ideas. Get ready to join Professor Archibald Hale and Jack Rains as they embark on a perilous journey to uncover the secrets of Amset-Ra and his 6 powerful desert artifacts. With ancient warriors, flying mummies, a massive cobra, and other strange and terrifying creatures, this adventure certainly isn't for the faint of heart. So grab your explorer hat and get ready to explore the world of LEGO Pharaoh's Quest. Let's dig in. Before delving fully into the world of Pharaoh's Quest, it's important to first take a quick stroll down memory lane and explore the background of this theme. You see, in 1998, LEGO introduced the Adventurers theme, which followed Johnny Thunder in his journeys, which also included sub-themes such as the Amazon rainforest, Dino Island, and Egyptian desert parts of Adventurers. The Egyptian desert sub-theme was one of the most popular, featuring sets that brought the mysteries of ancient Egypt to life. Some of the most famous sets from this line were the Temple of Anubis, with this really cool hot air balloon, the Sphinx Secret Surprise, and the Mummy's Tomb. These sets all contained new and interesting pieces and minifigures which were an instant hit. The minifigures included explorers such as longtime fan favorite Johnny Thunder and Sam Sinister, as well as mummies and Egyptian guards. These sets were absolutely packed with traps and secrets to keep the adventurers on their toes. Now, despite its success, the Egyptian sub-theme of adventurers only lasted for a little over a year. Now, fast forward to 2011 though, and the Pharaoh's Quest line was born. These sets and this theme in general was kind of a spiritual successor to the Adventurer's theme, with many similarities in terms of design and play features. However, Pharaoh's Quest took things to a whole new level with its intricate storyline and detailed minifigures. The entire design process of a new LEGO theme takes years, and Pharaoh's Quest was no exception. However, there was an additional special twist. You see, the design stage for Pharaoh's Quest is also the setting for one of LEGO's longest-running mysteries. There's a well-known rumor in the LEGO community that the company sent its design team to Egypt to gather research and get ideas for what would turn into the Pharaoh's Quest theme. Now, while LEGO has never officially confirmed this rumor, it has been discussed on many LEGO forum websites over many years. And to be honest, it's not hard to see why LEGO would want to send its designers to Egypt for inspiration. The country is steeped in history and culture, with a rich tradition of mythology, hieroglyphics, and famous architectural sites. LEGO likely wanted its set designers to immerse themselves in the history of the ancient Egyptians to ensure that the sets and storyline were influenced by real Egyptian culture. And also, I can't blame them for wanting to see the Great Pyramid of Giza and the Sphinx with their own eyes. If true, this wouldn't be the only time that LEGO has sent its designers on a field trip. The design team of LEGO Hidden Side famously went to New Orleans to capture the design and style of the American port city. But whether or not the rumor is true though, it's clear that the Pharaoh's Quest line is a labor of love for LEGO's design team. The sets are incredibly detailed and feature some of the most unique minifigures in the company's history. So whether they traveled to Egypt or not, it's clear that the designers put a lot of time and effort into creating Pharaoh's Quest. Now, the Pharaoh's Quest storyline follows the adventures of Professor Archibald Hale and his partner Jack Rains. Professor Hale is an archaeologist who is more accustomed to working in museums and universities than out in the field, but he's on a mission to track down the ancient Pharaoh Amset-Ra and his 6 mysterious treasures, which are said to hold unimaginable power. To aid him in his quest, Professor Hale hires the services of Jack Rains, an experienced explorer with a talent for uncovering hidden treasures. Together, the two set out to unravel the mystery of Amset-Ra and his nefarious plans. Along the way, they meet up with 2 other adventurers, Mac McCloud and Helena Scowling. Now, with saying that, you may have caught the naming theme going on here. We've got Hale, Rains, McCloud, and Scowling. The last one might not be as obvious to you as the others, but a squall is a violent windy storm, so it fits the weather theme. This theme was chosen to pay respect to the famous LEGO adventurer Johnny Thunder. Eventually, this group of explorers discovers a tablet that reveals that Amset-Ra has a legion of strange and terrifying creatures at his disposal. And so, armed with this knowledge, Professor Hale and Jack Rains set out to investigate the pyramid of Amset-Ra and put an end to his plans for world domination. Over its run, Pharaoh's Quest gave us a total of 9 main sets that all captured the beauty and mystery of ancient Egypt. The 2 smallest sets that were released were actually 2 of the last ones ever to hit the market. They were the Desert Rover and Desert Glider, which were both primarily promotional polybags that received limited releases. There was also this 3rd mini set released called the Skeleton Mummy Battle Pack. But getting to the really interesting sets, they were all released in a single window in December of 2010 prior to the holidays, and stayed on the market for a full year before being retired. The smallest of these sets was the Scarab Attack. Although it only had 44 pieces, it featured these heavily detailed printed angle bricks. Moving up, it's the Golden Staff Guardians with 70 pieces. This set came with Mac McCloud and 2 Mummy Warriors. These weren't the first mummies LEGO had released, but they were special in that they had glow-in-the-dark eyes. Digging deeper, it's the 125-piece Flying Mummy Attack, which is one of my personal favorites. I love Jake's biplane and the flying mummies, as well as the Egyptian obelisk that goes great with the other sets in the wave. Getting to the 3 largest sets though, we've got the Cursed Cobra statue, coming in at 213 pieces and 3 minifigures. This was the only set to feature Helena Scowling. But the coolest piece from this set is definitely the giant Cobra sail. Now, actually, whenever I was writing up this script, I noticed something quite odd. You see, online, this piece is listed as appearing in 2 different sets, but a quick look through the official Pharaoh's Quest sets only shows it once. So it seems I had a mystery to solve. After digging a bit more, I found an ancient Egyptian artifact myself. Turns out LEGO had released this Pharaoh's Quest coin bank. Yeah, pretty random and certainly a unique LEGO product. I guess you can use it to hold all of your personal Egyptian gold coins and sacred valuables. If anyone ever attempts to steal from you, they'll be greeted by your not-so-friendly Cobra guard. Now, the 2 largest sets from this theme should come as no surprise to anyone: the Rise of the Sphinx and the Scorpion Pyramid. I mean, it just wouldn't be Egypt without a Sphinx and a pyramid, and these 2 sets were very enjoyable. Speaking of which, I aim to make my videos as entertaining as possible, so take a couple seconds to click subscribe if you're enjoying this video. The 527-piece Rise of the Sphinx set was very appropriately named. The famous riddle-asking statue was guarding a precious treasure and waiting to ambush anyone who dared get too close. The statue easily rose to its feet and was incredibly posable, making it a versatile set for either play or display. The set also contained this neat little roadster built in the same style and color as the biplane from the flying mummy attack. Also under the Sphinx was a hidden artifact. Now, I don't know about you, but this looks an awful lot like the Ark of the Covenant from Indiana Jones. This would totally fit with the origins of the series, as the original Adventures theme was heavily based on Indiana Jones too. But of course, what about the biggest and coolest set from the entire wave, the Scorpion Pyramid? With 792 pieces and 7 minifigures, this was easily the crown jewel of the entire line. It was also the only set to give us a few truly unique minifigures. Professor Hale, Mac McCloud, Amset Ra, and the Anubis guards all had unique elements, and these figures can easily sell for more than $40 each. But you see, the set had more than just minifigures. For starters, this set was built on top of an amazing base plate. This giant raised molded base is a true thing of beauty, and I will never stop missing these. The back of the pyramid also slides away to reveal several internal chambers crawling with traps and venomous creatures. Also included was this amazing scorpion sub-build that had a few unique printed parts for the claws. It's fascinating that despite these sets being from 2011, you can still find collectors selling them. Overall, these sets were some of the most thematically consistent that LEGO has ever made. Any 2 of these could easily be combined into a single scene, which makes me wonder why Pharaoh's Quest only lasted for a single year. Would you like to see it return? Click here to explore another iconic LEGO theme, and subscribe to my channel for more LEGO videos.